McCluskey Hawthorne Corporation mining vessel, Borealis, drifted through deep space. Inside, the whole crew is resting in cryosleep. Their journey still had 4 years left before they would arrive at their destination. Then suddenly, without warning, a rogue asteroid shifted its path and slammed into the ship. The impact tore through the hull, forcing the cryopods to eject.
Warning, catastrophic hull breach. Personal survival system activated.
The ship's artificial intelligence, Leonard, initiated emergency protocols. Andy, one of the miners, was brought out of stasis just as the collision struck. Leonard guided him through the chaos, reminding him to stay steady and follow procedures. His pod separated from the wreck and was steered toward a nearby planet while the Borealis broke apart behind him. Inside the pod, robotic mechanisms secured Andy's survival suit, sealed his helmet, and restored oxygen flow. Many of the others were not as fortunate. Their pods were destroyed in the debris or burned during re-entry. Andy's capsule barely made it through the atmosphere, shaking violently as it descended. At the last moment, the pod spun away from a hillside and hit the ground hard. After his pod crash landed, Andy survived, though he lost consciousness on impact. When he wakes up, Leonard asks to confirm his consciousness. Memories of his family come into him as Leonard keeps asking questions to make sure he is fine.
Possible heart attack. Preparing defibrillator.
No, disengage.
After a conversation with Leonard, Andy peeked through the pod's window. He then sees that he was lying among jagged mountains, a storm brewing above with heavy clouds closing in.
Where the hell am I? Open comms.
Andy tried to reach the Borealis through his comms, but there was only silence. As he was on his frantic attempt for communication, the ground began to rumble beneath the pod, and Leonard urged him to get out quickly.
Terrain unstable. Suggest you exit escape pod immediately.
The hatch, however, was jammed from the crash. Andy tried to open it, but to no avail. When Andy checked the survival kit, he found it missing key equipment. There was no flare gun, something reserved only for higher-ranking crew.
Thanks, guys.
Desperate, he tried to break the glass and hit it with his leg, but it doesn't work. He then grabbed a fire extinguisher and shattered the pod's glass to force his way out. The violent motion of the unstable terrain flipped the pod, and shards of glass ripped into his suit. Leonard's voice warned him that the planet's air was toxic. Andy quickly sprayed sealant over the tear to keep himself alive.
42.
Relief washed over him, but it didn't last. As he was making promises not to leave this pod again, Leonard gave another warning. The pod had caught fire. With no time to waste, Andy dug himself free. He then walks away from the ship. Outside, Leonard announces that it located Borealis. Shortly after, Andy lifted his gaze just in time to see the Borealis blazing across the sky. The ship broke apart and crashed in a fiery explosion, the shock wave throwing Andy across the rocky ground. By sheer luck, he survived. Once he recovered, Andy asked Leonard where they had landed. The AI explained that this was an uncharted star system, far from their planned route. He is the first human to step there, so he is legally entitled to name it. Leonard asked Andy to enter a name. Andy is not interested, and Leonard ended up registering a word Andy said in frustration.
The name, fuck off Leonard, is available. Would you like to use it?
In the distance, Andy noticed a faint light, and with no other option, he decided to head toward it while still trying to make contact on his radio.
This is Andy Ramirez. Item number 0725E.
He kept trying to communicate with the ship, but there was no answer. He then reached the crashed ship. He asked Leonard to scan for active trackers. Leonard found one. Andy then notices through the wreckage of the Borealis that there was another pod.
Hey, is anyone over there? You okay?
Fighting down panic, he forced himself to pull out the oxygen tank, only to realize it was cracked and useless. Then suddenly, a body falls from the roof of the pod. It was motionless and pale. This startled Andy, and he got out of the pod. Frustrated and shaken, he pressed on toward the distant light. He asked Leonard to plot a course to the light source.
Plotted course has a travel time of 48 minutes.
He then reached the place. Then he saw a pod nearby. He then sees something unsettling. Blood smeared across the walls and claw marks etched into the metal. A silent warning that he was not alone on this world. The light turned out to be from another survivor. His name was Dwayne, and the relief in his face when he saw Andy was overwhelming.
At least one's still attached to a body. Name's Dwayne.
But the reunion quickly soured when Dwayne admitted he had considered eating the dead in order to stay alive.
Closest burger joint is about 1 trillion miles that way.
Dwayne told him they were 3 years and 4 months into the cryocycle. Dwayne explained what had happened. The company had rerouted the ship through an asteroid belt to conserve fuel, a decision that made them crash. It means they are not where they are supposed to be. Andy asked what the lights were, and Dwayne told him they were SOS lights. Hearing this, Andy suspected that Dwayne could be a comms tech, but Dwayne corrected him, saying he ran comms in the Corps.
Marine. Semper Fi, brother.
Andy gets excited, saying that he stumbled upon the right person. Then Dwayne shared a grim detail. They probably were the only people left here.
200 souls on board, and we're probably the only ones left.
Dwayne had a plan, send a distress signal back to Earth, but it would take 8 months for the message to arrive, and even with the fastest rescue craft, the RTS, help would not come for another 2 years.
How was that fast?
Not too bad if you ask me.
Andy, stressed, asked what they are going to do during all that time. Dwayne, staying calm, suggested they start drafting their workman's comp claim.
I don't know. Start drafting a workman's comp claim? It's gonna be huge.
He then changed his mind and suggested they head south to the other half of the Borealis and build a base camp. Andy faltered, despair creeping in.
That's horrible. That's never gonna work. We're gonna die.
Hey!
But Dwayne encouraged him, reminding him of his strength and determination. The pep talk, though, was a bit too forceful. Andy stumbled back and accidentally pulled a cable loose.
My bad.
We'll stay here another 6 months? Come on,
As he turned to fix it, something struck. A creature appeared out of nowhere, seized Dwayne, and dragged him into the shadows before Andy could react. Andy didn't even see what happened. Stunned and terrified, Andy barely understood what had happened. He started calling for him, but Dwayne was nowhere to be found.
Dwayne?
He then hears the device making a sound, so he decides to finish transmitting the distress signal. Then he picked up Dwayne's weapon and set out toward the other wreckage alone. Leonard wanted it was not legal, but Andy continued, ignoring the warning.
Company. Are you sure you want to proceed?
Go ahead, knock yourself out.
He kept going, tired. He then asked Leonard to chart him a course to the Borealis. Leonard then told him that there are 2,307 pieces of the Borealis spread over a 2-kilometer radius. Andy, frustrated, asked to direct him to the largest piece and started his journey towards that.
Recalculating. Setting fastest route now.
Following the path Leonard gave him, he finally reached a cliff. There is no way to continue. This angers him even more. His oxygen was nearly depleted, and he started thinking that he would die.
I'm gonna die out here.
Suddenly, his radio crackled to life with a new voice. A woman identified herself as Naomi, another survivor. Andy tried to keep her on the line as he tried to find where she was. She knew who he was because he was repeatedly broadcasting it. She was listening to him all along, but he couldn't hear her.
You couldn't hear me, but I heard your voice and...
When he asked if she was okay, she explained her legs were pinned inside her pod and gave him her coordinates. Leonard immediately warned Andy that the region she was in was unstable, with poor visibility, and that he would burn through all his remaining oxygen trying to reach her.
Estimated oxygen use 30%.
Looks like you're 10.7 clicks out.
Andy realized that the place is too far. He is also low on air, so he might not be able to make it up to her. Leonard urged him to continue toward the ship's remains, where he could safely restore his supply.
Please proceed to this route instead of hazard level red, Callaway, Naomi.
Naomi asked to override Leonard and pleaded with Andy not to leave her behind, promising that her pod still held enough oxygen for them both. Andy gets confused and hesitates about the decision, but finally Naomi managed to convince him.
We have a deal?
We have a deal.
Against Leonard's warnings, Andy agreed to help. As he moved in her direction, the two kept each other company over the radio, sharing fragments of their lives to pass the time.
Okay, well, I was born in West London.
Hours slipped by, and night fell over. Andy kept going, still talking with Naomi. The silence was broken only by the sound of Andy's boots on the ground, but he soon felt an unsettling presence. Shadows seemed to shift at the edge of his vision.
Music for space, interesting career shift.
When he asked Leonard to scan the area, the AI admitted it lacked the capability. Naomi scoffed, saying the company had installed an outdated model to cut costs.
Yeah, that thing always got stuck in my head. How did it go? It was like,
Andy kept talking, making fun of Leonard and the situation they are in. But the further Andy walked, the more he saw quick, darting shapes in the darkness.
Yeah, I was helping him send out a distress signal.
He told Naomi about Dwayne's sudden disappearance, his voice heavy with unease. But Naomi brushed it off, saying he is better off on his own.
What I'm doing right now is not relaxing. It's dark as hell out here.
Following strange footprints, he stumbled upon a gaping hole covered in thick webs. Something spider-like lived here. Startled, he kept going. Naomi sensed something was up and asked what was going on. But Andy brushed it off, telling her what he saw might not even be accurate because it was dark.
Could have been a shadow or something. All right, we good, don't even trip.
Still, he picked up his pace, webs becoming more frequent the deeper he went. Trying to distract him, Naomi asked why he had signed up for such a grueling job, hinting that he might be running from something.
Well-adjusted applicants for this job. Trust me, everybody's running from something.
Her words stirred painful memories of his wife and son, laughter that had once filled his home before they suddenly left him.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't... yeah, that sounds rough.
The thought lingered until a guttural growl pulled him back to reality. Nervous, Andy scanned the darkness. He then keeps going, but he stops when he hears another growl.
This is weird.
Wait, Andy? Wait, what?
Naomi told him multiple trackers were moving toward him. Andy asked Leonard to link with the approaching trackers. Naomi then told him the signatures matched miners who were already dead. They were also approaching him fast. They both think something is wrong. Naomi urged him to flee the area.
You know, Andy, they're right in front of you. Andy, get out.
As the signals closed in, Andy fired a flare. The sudden burst of light revealed the truth. Enormous arachnids, each with barbed, scorpion-like tails, skittering across the rocks toward him. Andy bolted.
Oh, don't look back! Don't look back!
Terror drove him forward, but his footing gave way, and he tumbled into a fissure. Above, one of the monstrous spiders pursued him, its limbs scraping at the ground, trying to reach. He slammed against a cliff ledge far below, bruised and barely alive, but still breathing. The spider let out an ear-splitting roar of frustration and retreated. Panting, Andy relayed what he had seen to Naomi. The creatures were using trackers from devoured crew members, the devices still active inside their stomachs.
I'm just reacting like any normal human person would react if they saw what I just saw.
Andy, wait, calm down.
Andy noticed a sharp hiss in his suit and realized his oxygen was leaking. With no other choice, he used the last of his sealant spray to patch the tear.
Sealant depleted.
Okay.
Then, surprisingly, Dwayne's voice suddenly crackled through the radio. He claimed he was fighting the spiders.
Hello?
I can't fight these things forever!
I don't see him.
Rubberless!
Naomi urged Andy to go help him, pointing out that Dwayne had more oxygen and might stand a better chance.
My heart's messed up. It must have happened when I fell. I don't even know where I'm going.
Okay, I'll go.
Andy hesitated but eventually agreed. His GPS had been damaged in the fall, so Naomi guided him by radio. At last, Andy saw a flare in the distance and hurried toward it.
We can take them together! Come on!
When he arrived, Dwayne was already locked in a desperate struggle. He shouted that he had a plan, but before he could act, a spider leapt and crushed him. Andy could only hide behind a wrecked pod, listening in horror as the creature devoured his crewmate. Another spider soon began sniffing the air, searching for him. At the last second, Naomi remotely activated the lights on a nearby pod to draw it away.
Did it work?
Kinda, but there's still one left.
Andy slipped into a different pod for cover, only to find a decayed corpse inside. Disgusted, he begged Naomi to turn off the lights around him, but she instead triggered every pod in the area to flare up at once. The swarm of voices confused the spiders, giving Andy his only chance to escape. Even then, one of the monsters pursued him until he stumbled into a dense fog.
Andy, what's happening? Hello?
Andy urged Naomi to abandon her pod before it was too late, but she admitted she was still pinned. Her panic began to rise, so Andy sang the same lullaby he once sang to his son, calming her just enough to keep her steady.
If one monster still survives, I'll blow his guts out.
It worked, and she calmed down. She then confirmed what Andy already feared. Dwayne was gone. It was only the two of them now.
Hey, I'm looking on my screen. It's just you and me now.
Pushing forward through the mist, Andy stumbled upon a cloud of glowing fireflies floating in the air, their purple light turning the fog into a dreamlike haze. But the beauty quickly turned deadly. Their glow shifted to a furious red, and they swarmed him, clawing at his helmet and clawing at his suit. Andy backed off, dodging the attack. Naomi wondered if he was hallucinating what he saw, but since his oxygen is at 6%, it is highly unlikely.
But hallucinations shouldn't kick into you around 2.
Naomi suggested the spiders might actually fear the fireflies, which could explain why they broke off their hunt earlier. Andy had no time to dwell on it. Without warning, the ground split open and an enormous maw rose beneath him. A creature's mouth engulfed him completely, swallowing him whole. As he slipped into the stinking darkness of its insides, memories of his family flashed before his eyes. Desperate, he called out to Leonard for help as the creature's foul, pulsing interior closed around him.
Leonard, you have to help me.
What can I help with?
Inside the creature's stomach, Andy's chest tightened and he gasped that he was having a heart attack. Leonard reacted instantly, triggering the defibrillator built into Andy's suit. The shock didn't just revive him, it forced the monster to convulse and spit him back out. Andy hit the ground running as the beast lunged after him. In his panic, he tumbled into a cavern choked with glowing fireflies. Once again, the swarm turned hostile, surrounding him in a furious cloud. He sprinted across the cave until he burst out the other side, where the fireflies broke off and left him shaken but alive.
Naomi!
Oh my god, you're alive!
Leonard once again warned that he has a higher chance of reaching the Borealis, which is only 0.3 clicks, instead of Naomi's ship, which is 0.8 clicks.
Callaway, Naomi. Destination, 0.8 clicks.
Naomi urged him to go to Borealis, but Andy turned his focus back to Naomi instead of the wreckage. He reached her pod just as his supply ran dry, collapsing as she plugged him into her own system.
You're in.
Andy struggled to free her trapped leg, but brute strength wasn't enough. Using her tools, he fashioned a makeshift lever and managed to pry her loose.
We got it out.
Yeah.
Fortunately, her leg wasn't broken. He helped her out of the pod and crafted a splint out of scrap metal, braced it around her limb, and helped her stand.
That actually feels oddly better. I'm impressed. Where'd you learn that?
After gathering what they could from Naomi's pod, she thanked him for saving her. But there was no time to rest. A swarm of spiders descended on their position, driving them into a desperate run. Naomi's advanced AI, Amy, injected her with morphine so she could push through the pain in her leg.
5 milligrams.
Is it working?
They stumbled and a spider loomed overhead, ready to strike. Naomi fired her flare gun, sending the creatures racing after the burning light. The two seized the moment and boarded the remaining section of the Borealis. Naomi fought the malfunctioning controls to close the doors, finally sealing them just as the spider was cut in half between the bulkheads. Pounding began on the other side of the door, forcing them deeper into the ship. Emergency lights flickered to life, powered by the backup generator. Naomi navigated with ease, familiar with the ship's layout, while Andy, who had spent nearly all his time in cryosleep, struggled to keep up.
How's your leg?
Brilliant, especially after that sprint.
They eventually found a habitable deck with enough resources to sustain them until help arrived. But before they could breathe easy, they noticed a trail of blood smeared along the corridor. Following it, they came upon a horrifying sight. One of the spiders had already breached the hull. Hidden in the shadows, they watched as it laid an egg, sealing it in webs with a corpse inside. Andy's stomach churned and he fought the urge to vomit. The first spider eventually crawled away without noticing them. But before Andy and Naomi could move, another came from behind. In a panic, Andy shoved them into a nearby room and locked the door, only for Naomi to realize the mistake. They were trapped inside an airlock. Andy tried battering the door with a metal rod, but it wouldn't budge. Exhausted and without options, both removed their helmets. In the silence that followed, Andy shared a recording of his wife and son. He confessed that they had died in a car crash while returning from his birthday, and ever since he had carried the guilt of being the one who lived. He admitted he often felt it should have been him instead.
Andy, I'm so sorry. I can't even begin to understand.
Naomi listened and then told him that saving her proved his life still mattered. She admitted she had lost her faith in others, but his actions had restored some of that hope.
So no matter what happens, I hope you know that.
Naomi hugged him, and in that moment, she noticed a cluster of fireflies clinging to his suit. The respite ended abruptly as the spider smashed through the lock. Thinking quickly, Naomi hurled the fireflies at the creature. The reaction was immediate. The spider recoiled in fear, giving them a chance to flee. They bolted down a corridor, nearly stumbling into the cargo bay. The spider pursued, sending them all crashing into the bay together. With no way out, Andy threw Naomi's spray canister at the beast. When the spider bit into it, the canister exploded, stunning the monster just long enough for them to escape. Catching their breath, Andy insisted they couldn't just run forever. They needed to kill it. He suggested using the mining drill to finish it once and for all. Naomi volunteered to act as bait, shouting and sprinting to keep the spider's attention while Andy searched for a solution.
Stall that thing and bring it back when I tell you.
That's your plan?
Leonard guided him, revealing that the only functioning pod was located 2 levels above their position. Andy climbed quickly while the spider lashed out at Naomi. To help her, he plunged the area into darkness, knowing the spider relied on light. The sudden blackout disoriented the creature, giving Naomi a chance to slip away from its reach. Naomi strapped emergency lights to herself, turning her body into a lure to keep the spider's focus. Meanwhile, Andy worked frantically to prepare the pod for a manual launch. Leonard explained that he had diverted all available power to protect Naomi, and restoring it would take 15 minutes they did not have. Andy refused to wait. He overrode the system and prepared to jumpstart the pod himself. The lights did their job. The spider locked onto Naomi and chased her straight toward Andy's position. Andy linked his suit directly to the pod, forcing power into it. Leonard warned him that there is no crash safety in operation, and chances of survival on impact are highly unlikely. Even so, Leonard calmly accepted the risk, telling Andy it was worth sacrificing them both if it meant ending the threat.
Preparing update. I've really enjoyed our time together, Andy.
With the monster bearing down, Andy launched the pod at the last second. As it dropped, memories of his family's fatal accident filled his mind. The pod slammed into the creature, crushing it beneath its weight. The victory came at a cost. Andy collapsed, unconscious from the strain. Naomi sprinted to his side, sobbing when she thought he was gone.
Please don't leave me here alone. I need you. I need you.
But moments later, Andy stirred. She pulled him into a tight embrace, relief flooding over her. Together, they walked out, watching the sunrise spread across the sky.
How would you feel about moving in together? To say, I don't know.
Then, against all odds, Leonard's voice returned. Andy smiled with relief as Leonard began to play a soft, beautiful song. Hand in hand, Andy and Naomi listened, holding on to the fragile hope of survival.